Hey folks, Court here again with naturalphotographer.org. I wanted to talk about something very important today that really does necessitate some graphics and some explanation to go along with it. White balance is easy to ignore, but gosh, how does the saying go? It takes a lifetime to master. It's actually something quite important to think about with your photography, and we're just going to give you a quick primer on it today, as well as some examples of how this photo, the Great Sand Dunes National Park, how this might actually look different with various types of white balance applied. So if you're not familiar with white balance, you're going to probably recognize these logos and icons from your camera's manual or your camera's menu system. Don't take too much time right now studying and memorizing these, but just know that the top few are really quite paramount. Most cameras are set to auto, and I myself really only fluctuate between auto, daylight, and cloudy. The rest of those are much more for indoor use, but when we're talking about nature and wildlife photography, landscape photography, it's much more about those top ones for outdoor conditions. To give you a quick visual, this is kind of the spectrum of Kelvin ratings or temperature ratings when it comes to white balance. So the idea is that not all light is created equal. The light from the sun is very different than the light from a fluorescent light. And there's all sorts of different shades, whether that sun is behind mountains, behind clouds, at sunrise, sunset, midday, etc., etc. So again, just to kind of give you a frame of mind, this is the range of light that we're talking about. So let's move on to that photo I showed you. This is my final product. This is the photo that you just saw. This is the photo after tweaking and editing on Photoshop is what I came up with as what I view to be the most accurate representation of what the light looked like that day. But as I sift through and scan through the next couple of slides, you're going to see the differences in how the white balance settings I can put into the camera or put into Photoshop actually make the photo look quite different. So next slide here, we have the cloudy white balance. See how much more yellow gets injected into the shot? Going forward, we have daylight, a bit more blue, so a little bit less yellow, more blue. Remember that spectrum of yellow to blue light that I showed you in that graphic? And then look at the auto in the camera itself. This is auto white balance in the camera right here. That's actually quite amazing. This is auto white balance. This is the bluest of them all. This is what happened when I didn't touch my camera whatsoever and just let the camera decide how it was going to actually process the white light. Now, look at this. This is auto from Photoshop. So when you go into Photoshop and you change the white balance setting to its own auto, look how much yellow gets back injected into the shot. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is there's not necessarily one right way to do it, but just look at the differences. And you're going to notice that my final product, which is the slide I show next, actually does look a lot more blue. But the point being there is your eyes actually adjust from shot to shot, from image to image. So this looks blue only in comparison to that previous shot that actually had a lot more yellow, a lot warmer temperature. So, you know, putting the daylight filters on or daylight white balance when it's daylight has some justification, some science behind it. Putting on cloudy when it's actually cloudy is good, but it's not always the case. I actually do often set my camera on cloudy and just leave it that way because I actually like my shots to be a bit warmer. If you think back in the days of filters, the filter you would put on the edge of the tip of the camera, tip of the lens would actually be a warming or a cooling filter. Remember that? Recognize that terminology? Well, basically it's just warming or cooling the look of your photo. We can now do that in Photoshop very easily without any degradation of photo or the quality of the photo. So it's actually quite interesting to be able to have that power after the fact now. So again, digest this, think about it. There can be more presentations on this if folks are interested in, but really the idea is to show you a few of the same exact type of photo and look at the different types of white balances and what they do to the resulting shot. So once again, thanks for joining and hope you learned something. Now go forward and give it a shot.